Hello, my name is Ricardo Herrera, and today I will be presenting my topic on immigrant barriers within the social service and healthcare fields. Ricardo Herrera, of course, Wichita State University right there. So first I want to start off by just talking about cultural barriers. There are many cultures that exist across the globe, and not every single culture believes or places emphasis on certain health issues, such as mental health. For example, for my practicum this year, I worked at the International Rescue Committee, and I had to deal with an Afghanistan family who left Afghanistan last year because of the Taliban taking over, and they're not used to everything that we do in America. So it was crazy just to get to talk to them, just to get to see like what their culture is. It was beautiful. It's really just highlights the beauty in the world of how many different cultures there are. But one thing I did notice is that they didn't really place an emphasis on mental health, which is very well, I found it very weird because of the trauma that they were definitely more than likely exposed to when they were leaving Afghanistan, just because of they had to flee and they had to start all over in a new country, in a very unfamiliar country. So it's definitely something that definitely we take for granted sometimes, just how our culture has been more open to mental health. But yes, there are cultures out there that do exist that still are a little bit behind on catching up with the rest of the world in terms of mental health. Um, so right there, in many cultures, mental health is still a taboo subject. Like Afghanistan, many still consider certain health services not necessary. For example, I think highlighting that, I spoke to my client from Afghanistan. He really think that therapy for really any of his family members was super necessary in regards to mental health. But that's him. That's just how he was raised. Yeah. And then, of course, another cultural barrier is that lack of understanding about healthcare. Some cultures, again, not to just keep going to the Afghanistan family, but they also didn't really see the need in dentists. So just thinking about that, which sometimes they just not super well informed on what exactly a healthcare provider is there to do. For example, in this case, it's getting their teeth fixed up, but in other cases, it could be getting their mental health straightened up and ready to go. So yeah. The next one I want to highlight is language barriers. I did my research, and according to Wardig in 2018, a language barrier is the number one reason for immigrants to avoid seeking out treatment, including but not limited to the following thoughts: a lack of understanding, communication between practitioner and patient, a lack of access to translators or translated documents, which I think is a very big one. If the patient can't really read what is being prescribed to them or what is being done to them, I mean, they're not going to really feel super at ease. And that goes into my next topic of lack of trust a client feel towards the practitioner just because they don't speak the same language. So, the communication or the rapport that they can build just isn't there. And then next, I'm going to highlight the financial barriers. According to Davis, the financial implications of receiving healthcare in the United States terrifies many immigrants. For example, the cost of healthcare in the U.S., not just for immigrants, honestly, just for about anyone who is super rich. Healthcare is a crazy, crazy expense, and that's one that we can't really. A lot of people just can't afford. And the study also highlighted the fact that many immigrants they could not afford to miss work to go to appointments or anything like that. And they have that mindset where work, 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 work. So they really don't consider taking time off just to go see what's wrong with them. And of course, this I feel like is just for about anyone as well. Lack of insurance is definitely a big barrier when it comes to the U.S. healthcare system. Um, yeah, and of course, the physical impacts on the immigrants is their ailments and pains are left untreated. And then next we talk about psychological impacts. Like I said, when there's a language barrier or they can't get the services they need, be it because of the language barrier, be it because maybe there isn't any like service providers in their area, alienation can occur. They can feel left out, and that isn't a very good feeling. It could lead to depression. It could lead to other mental health issues down the line. And of course, right there it says mental health left unchecked. So maybe someone is battling depression, but they don't know, or they're battling any other symptoms, they're battling any other mental health illness. They simply don't know. They just are going to deal with it in a sense. And of course, I highlighted a few ways to improve the problem. I think universal healthcare is a very, very good tool. It's probably a pipe dream. It's probably something that probably will never get done in my lifetime. Hopefully, maybe in my kid's lifetime or something like that, it can get done. But universal healthcare, just avoiding, just eliminating the gap that between rich people and poor people in terms of healthcare services. That way, that everyone can get healthcare services. It's not just the super rich or the people who maybe are poor or less fortunate don't feel the need to if they have a broken leg not to go to the doctor just because they can't afford to go. Of course, to inform each community the resources that they have available to them. This is more in line with just letting the immigrant community know that there are resources out there. For example, in the Wichita area, there's the Wichita Indo-Chinese Center, which is a great way. It does a great thing of connecting immigrants and refugees to the local community as well as any services and health providers in the area. So like, just informing them, just letting them know that there are services out there. There are people that are willing to help them and connect them to resources. And of course, more services in the area with a higher immigrant population. Like I said earlier, just if they have to drive or they don't have transportation, that's another barrier in them getting healthcare. And how will I myself attempt to eliminate barriers? Of course, I would like to advocate for more translators just to ensure that everyone understands what's going on. The practitioner and the patient are on the same page. I feel like that would just ease a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and of course, build rapport between the two. And of course, advocate for a reduction in healthcare costs or universal healthcare. Yeah, because I feel like that's the biggest thing right there. Advancing international social work. I strive to understand every culture when not just me, but all social workers just strive to understand every culture one may interact with while on the job, whether it be maybe just one person in the culture, but doing helping them. For example, the large Mexican population I am comfortable with, but maybe I'm not as comfortable with the Vietnamese community. But I must, as a social worker, ensure that this Vietnamese community I am at peace with. I understand it and I know the ins and outs of it just as well as the Mexican culture, just to ensure that I have a good understanding of all the cultures in the world. And of course, ensure no corner of the globe is left in the dark. What I mean by this is just ensuring that every single person, every single citizen of the earth, and every single country is accounted for, and they aren't given the cold shoulder in a sense, or their needs aren't met. Of course, as a social worker in general, you gotta stay up to date on the latest news, regardless of region. Um, being in the know, ensuring that you know what's going on in the world, and yeah, and they're my references. And thank you so much.